What is going on, y'all? It is Cat the Vat, and now I'm very excited to unmute and stream today. Today we're doing a Memetics Monday session with Defender. I'm gonna go ahead and jump in my Discord so that he could join. Okay. Oh, I gotta kill that. Okay. Let me get this link sent over. Okay. And then let me pull up the screen focus. Defender, hello. You're you're a little quiet today. Let me get you turned up.
Does this sound better?
Yeah, that does sound better. Let me get you pull up here. Um, okay, cool. So how are you doing this week? Just, starting off casual, easy.
Yeah, doing all right. Yeah, I don't know. It always feels kind of like a whirlwind, um, which I think is just nature of the game. But um, like you're trying to keep up with like the evolving memetic landscape and all that stuff happening in news, but also trying to focus on like the, the theoretical or like the I don't know, trying to move the needle on the memetic work, the tangible, the tactic
Yeah.
pieces, all that.
Have you been up to anything exciting this week? Talking to anybody exciting? Also, are you gonna turn your camera on? I'm trying to like figure out how I'm gonna set up this stream when we're like going. Um, so I'm
Yeah, I
trying to
have my
figure out how to
camera
do that.
on, and then yeah, I have my camera on, and then I wanted to have a screen share,
Okay. Oh yeah, I forgot
just
to
to
screen
give us
share.
a
Do you want it open on your
and
side?
I can try it on my side. I was just wondering it might be more stable on yours, but I can just start with mine, and if it's glitching out, we can.
Either way works. I am able to screen share as well.
Actually, that would be nicer then if you because if you're driving it, then you can kind of focus on
Yeah.
the
Okay.
yeah.
Uh, um. Okay. Wait, I should probably put you somewhere else and just make you big through this. Sorry, I'm like messing with the stream. Let me. If I keep you tiny in the bottom there, I could just do this. Oh my gosh. Sorry, I'm just talking to myself.
All right, no, you're good. I'm also kind of jumping around getting my tabs because I want to have the Memetic Mondays channel for reference ready.
Okay, and then 700. There we go. That looks that looks good. Cool. And then what? Wait, what happened to the background? Oh my gosh. I hate how that works. Okay. So apparently in OBS, I think you code, right?
Yeah.
So apparently in OBS, if you duplicate a source, it is not creating everything that's similar. It's literally
Mm,
referencing the same exact information. Um, okay, let me do another display capture. We're gonna call this one Defender. There we go. Defender, filters, crop. Okay, that. Well, no, you're a little skinny there. 200. 200 probably works. Okay. Sorry to just be
No, you're good.
setting all this stuff up on stream. What the heck? Unprofessional.
This is the transparency we're looking for, though.
Yeah. And then this one goes back to the other one. Cool. And we'll make that one big. Okay, I have it all here on the screen. Okay, awesome. So now we're all caught up. I have us all on the screen and I have the board up as well.
Yes. I think you can see me moving this around. Nice.
Oh my god, yeah. Ooh, we're gonna talk about egregores. It's very exciting.
It's funny. This was one of the things that blew up in our cluster this week, which we're trying to define egregore, which I think it's about time because we've been using it for 6 months and everybody has different definition. Um,
Yeah.
and I don't know. I mean, part of the reason we haven't pinned down the definition is because um, everybody everybody is everybody's doing something slightly different. Um, so like this is why I had the first thing in the agenda here is this like notable people in open memetics.
Mm-hmm.
Because this is kind of how I anchor it. Like everyone's looking at the same things and everyone's gotten to slightly different conclusions or definitions, and then I think the field is still kind of stuck here, but this is the I think the phase transition where we're in because whose definition wins out, who gets to pick,
Yeah.
whose language wins is kind of a power thing. Um, so I've like I have my own for the precise definition of egregore, but I haven't been wanting to say this is it and everyone has to use this one.
Yeah.
So far I've been sort of asking questions and someone has a definition. I was like, well, wait, how would you define or how do you differentiate these two things, which I don't see in your definitions? Because I think we can all sort of coalesce to something organically.
Yeah.
So wait, there's a picture I'm trying to throw in here. Let me put it here. This is by Dan Allison. Throw it here. Which I've been using this image to explain in like visually
The
what
idea of
I
an egregore.
yeah.
I love that picture. I actually was going to use that. I'm developing this like people-centric framework for kind of understanding all this stuff, right? It's like I don't know the right words, but like not like it seems like OMI is approaching everything very scientifically, right? Like you guys want to be the theories, the academics, etc. I want to build the tool sets for people to be like normie pilled and still be
Mhm.
able to engage with these ideas and
Yes.
like visualize memetics, etc. So this picture, I was actually going to use that to explain one of these concepts. So I'm really excited that like we're locked in right there.
Yeah, no, this is great because I mean, because first of all, and I had this as the first open question, which is what I mean, this is what I like about talking to you because I feel like this is what's on your mind is like, okay, the big theory, the esoteric stuff, it's all great, but is this helpful to normies, to just the general public, and if so, how or how much it can trickle down? And I
Yeah.
mean, I to me that's the I don't know, I care a lot about that because otherwise there's too much like navel gazing, and like it's good to have push the frontier or whatever, but ultimately it should serve the broader public. Um, and
Yeah.
this image in particular, I don't know if you've tried it. Like I've shown it to a lot of my like real life friends, and it kind of just it works like immediately. Like they get pretty quickly what what this means, just like intuitively. Because
Mm-hmm.
I'll start talking about like group dynamics in like a friend hangout and a social hangout, and I'm like, do you see how when we hang out in a group of 5 people, there might be like 3 people who are actively in a shared mind and a few others outside. Um, and people get it intuitively pretty quickly, and I think this is like you go from there to um, the biggest egregores are the ideologies that we're in. These are the
Yeah.
shared minds. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh my God. That's actually so interesting because I I haven't shown this to anybody, but I think this would be a great way to explain. I have this term that I use called it's called plur, right? So it's like short for plural virtual intelligences. But it's
Mm.
basically the idea of like imagine there's an organism, but it's not either of the people here. It's the like bubble on the outside, right? So it's like it's this thing above the people that exists just in the language itself. It is this egregore rather than like
Yeah. Well, actually, let
mm,
me show you. Because okay, but I think a big part of what I'm trying to do is
mhm.
how do you actually how do you show people this stuff? So let me can you open this tweet
Yeah.
because it's low animation and you can make it a little big because this is actually something when we made that like a lot of like people a lot of programmers were like this is not that interesting, we've seen this before, but it blew a lot of people's minds, and I think it was purely the framing, it was more on the art of it. So this is um each dot here is a tweet, and they're clustered based on proximity in like idea space. So like all the tweets about COVID are near each other and they're purple. Tweets about Middle East are yellow and they're in the bottom left. Um, and I think what got people excited is because again, these visualizations have existed for a long time, but I was like, I think almost doing a little bit of science fiction here. I was like, imagine this is like a microscope. And what if this isn't
Yeah.
just random? What if we do this and then what if we see, what if we see the egregores fighting? Like, what? Imagine you're actually seeing them pulling.
Yeah. That is so interesting that you say that because in this framework that I'm developing, it's almost like I'm trying to like take biology and apply it to linguistics and
Mhm.
memetics, right? And you saying that is exactly the way that I kind of visualize these things in my head as like their own independent organisms. They're waging war on the level of
Yep.
gods while we're
Yep.
like deciding which gods we follow, right?
Yep.
And I find just you bringing that up extremely interesting because yeah, this is just like we're looking at a microscope at like a multicellular organism, right? It evolves, it changes, it grows where it's able to find food and then it dies off, right? And I don't know, I find it all so interesting. But
I mean,
these kinds of tools have existed for a long time, you said?
well, see, this is the thing. The programmers, the engineers looking at this were like, because this was going viral and it's blowing a lot of people's minds, a lot of people reaching out, but a lot of people who are the engineers, they're like, what? Why is everyone getting so excited about this? This is a very basic visualization that we've seen a ton before.
Yeah.
Um, but I think the part that they're not getting, that I was trying to explain, is we've never seen this. We've never seen ourselves in these maps.
Yeah, and that's
Like,
the issue because we as humans are so like self-centric that if we're not able to like apply our own perspective into the relation of like the wider information space, we just then never understand it. So I agree with you 1,000,000%. Sorry if I'm speaking over you. I'm just so excited that
I
like
I think it's
you're
great.
on it. You're on it. So oh my God.
I think it's great that you see this because this is sort of like again I try like it's not obvious to people why this makes such a big difference. um, the like yeah, it almost doesn't mean anything. Like this could be like, okay, there are a lot of people on social media are saying things, and they're like weird people, or they're whatever. I don't care.
Yeah,
But the thing that's really cool that we're doing here, and because this came from this actually all of this is not like a all of Twitter thing. This is actually from just 200 accounts that
yeah.
all volunteered to put their data to make their data public for us to sort of make play this game. And so the thing I'm really excited for, and I want to talk about who's which team is sort of working on this right now. Um, but the thing they're doing now, they're called Epistemic Garden. The next milestone they have is a live version of this. Okay, so you're
Mm,
on Twitter, you're doing your thing, and then let's say you know the Charlie Kirk discourse explodes, or some other thing, some
yeah.
other like random thing. Now the cute part would be like you know how you see how the colors here. Like imagine if you could color it based on account. So let's say you're
Is this
yellow.
automatically labeled or is this manually labeled? That is one question that I had.
Here in this one, it is like a machine learning labeling, so it's sort of guessing that
It's
like oh
automatic. That's
yeah.
awesome. Okay, okay, okay.
But also there's some fuzziness here. But it's interesting. There's a version of this where you can color it by account, which makes it even more um, interesting because you could. Okay, actually, do you want to go back to the board and then go to
Yeah.
the board to the right, bottom right? There's a little graph on yeah this guy. Um, this is a graph of word frequency. So you can see this is for the word psyop. So at some point, so I'm trying to connect this to the animation to say you're in the middle of the discourse and like there's something big thing happening in the discourse. Like suddenly everyone's talking about a thing. In
Yeah.
this case, it's psyop. Now the fun part is to be able to rewind back and see like how did this start? Because sometimes you're the person who's like you know in that inflection point where you're one of the first people talking about it, and then it gets picked up, and then everyone starts talking about it.
Yeah.
Um, and sometimes you're just an early amplifier. And sometimes it's a coordinated thing. It's not an organic thing. And you can see like, oh, well, these 12 different accounts that are like on the periphery of our network all started using this word at the same time. So there's something, you know, maybe nefarious or coordinated here.
Yeah.
Um, but I think the exciting part is like when you can see yourself. I don't know, like if it's like you start getting feedback. Like, do you how much like I think most normal people feel like they're passive consumers of their culture, but I think the truth is that they are not. When new culture, new words, new language hits them, they sort of have a choice whether to amplify it or sort of dampen it and reject it. And
Yeah.
I think if people could start to see their impact, they would feel much more empowered, and they'd be much less easy to manipulate, and also just be more fun.
I agree with you 1,000,000%. I think that people have a very low intuitive cogsec. Like they don't feel the ways to stay safe when they're
Mhm.
engaging in the cognitive realm. But tools like this, and I wanted to develop a social media. I don't know if I talk about it in the server because I feel so like underqualified compared to everybody else. But I want to develop a social media that kind of does that, right? And it like visualizes these kinds of egregore dynamics and it visualizes these kinds of like semantic dynamics so that like you can feel empowered, but also, and this one's just a headcanon. Yeah, I can't confirm this one, but I'm under the belief that if we develop the intuition cognitively for people to kind of understand these things and like engage with these things, these will translate even when they don't have these tools around them,
Oh
right?
yeah,
Like
yes. Yep.
They'll go out
Yep.
in the real world and they'll still carry the same cognitive security with them,
Yes.
which will likely help against advertisements. It'll likely
Yep.
help against a whole slew of things that right now people are just getting like one shotted every single
Yep.
day.
Yep. I actually okay. I think this is huge. I need to write this down. The tools will help even outside of the context in which they apply. That's such a big I think idea. Um, like there's another thought I had, which is developers who can build this stuff are like pressed because no one wants to use it.
Oh my
Um,
gosh.
it's funny. I actually spoke to someone. You were asking me what was up this week. I spoke to someone who is a competent engineer and gets a lot of the stuff, but he has a little bit of despair here because he's like, we can build these tools, and we were specifically talking about tools that make secret coordination clear. That
Yeah.
like given an idea, a phrase, you can if you can see like, oh, these 100 accounts all talk about it at the same time. He's like the patterns are so obvious. It's so obvious when there's manipulation, but nobody seems to care.
Yeah.
And and again, I think that is a like that's not a technical problem now. Like we sort of have the technical problem solved. The problem is like how do you get people to do things? How do you get people to care? How do you get people
It's the
and it's
social problem. Yeah.
yes, yeah, yeah. It's it's actually funny. It's funny that more I think there's something funny about like people who know how to engineer, people who spend a lot of time thinking about like technical uh things see the social I think I'm trying to say I want more engineers to see social engineering as a technical problem.
Yeah, because they really don't. I've noticed this as well. It feels like engineers are very involved in material reality, right? They love to work with numbers. They love to be able to like math stuff out. But like social interactions are mathable, right? You can develop these tools, but when you like look at social interaction like that, it's not nice to your brain. Like they're depressed because they want people to use these tools and be like, "Oh, this is the development of these terms." I don't really see that being like I don't see the engineer mindset of like I built this so I can see this data visualization and then like other engineers might pick it up. But otherwise, like I don't see normies wanting to really use this kind of
Yep.
stuff unless you find some way to give them buy-in, like
Yes.
center it
Yes.
on them like you said,
Yes.
right? Show them
Yes.
their relation to this
Yes.
graph. But also, when you were talking, it made me think that there could be a lot of security applications of this, and not just cogsec applications, but like you could actually market this or like advocate for this or tell people about this in terms of like if they're journalists, right? It's like, oh, you spend so much time running language analysis. Let me develop this tool that automatically shows you everything, right? Like go to this website and you literally have all your research done for you. Um, or other like socially engaged kinds of people. Basically I'm just saying that I don't think marketing to engineers is the right idea, even though those are the ones that will find the most value out of it right now. It's more like building that dream to sell it to other people who are
Yep.
more like in the social realm already.
Right. Yep. Yep. And actually, and I feel like this is. I also honestly think this is why I sort of like stopped writing code for a while
Mm-hmm.
and have been purely doing what I think the simplest word to say it is like marketing, really outreach, science communication. Um, I guess because I was gonna say something like like you could have really complicated advanced tools that show you a lot of this stuff, but if again if most if it's not a part of the workflow or the day to day of most normies, to me, it actually maybe does more harm than good.
Yeah.
Like I'd rather have like simple tools that only like sometimes like okay like actually someone said that my work is closer to like yeah like science fiction than science, and I first I was offended, but then I was like wait, because I am trying to do science sometimes at least. But
Yeah.
but I think part of it is like again, if you look at the psyop graph, like that got really popular, and I think the biggest impact it had was it made people think every time they saw, because I did this for a bunch of different things. Like actually, I'll show you. There's a graph for the word vibe, and that the shape of that looks very different. Let's see if I can find it. The shape of it, I'll put it underneath here. So you can see how
Oh, that is a lot
psyop,
more organic. Yeah.
yeah. It's actually this is part of why this is almost like really poetic, and we found this by accident. Like vibe has this like nice organic looking curve, and then psyop, the word psyop just looks like it's a psyop. Um,
Yeah.
but I
Although
don't really, yeah. Go ahead.
I do wonder if it was a psyop or if it was like a response to claims
Yeah,
of election fraud, because that is like end of 2020. That's when, we're all arguing about like was the election stolen?
right.
Was like are is Russia running psyops on us? Are we like at war in the
Yep,
psychological realm? So
yep.
it's almost
Right.
curious, is it natural or did that spike right before just cause like outsized impact in terms of like the social media reception? Because there
I think
is a little spike right before. Sorry,
right,
I don't mean to
right.
keep
No,
talking.
this is a great question because and I think this is where like just because you see this shape, it doesn't mean there's something nefarious, but it does mean that something happened.
Yeah, there's
Yeah.
something like inauthentic or like in
Or
influencing.
there's an event here of some kind. Right, and it's either like it's like if there's an earthquake, that happens suddenly, everyone's talking about earthquake. That makes sense. It's a response to the thing.
Yeah.
Um, but the interesting thing here is that okay, so these two graphs, especially side by side, went viral. A lot of people are talking about this, and every now and then, for a while, like I was getting a lot of people like adding me on Twitter to be like, wait, can you search? Can you look up this word? Can you look up this word? Can you look up this word? And I realized what was happening is that just once you give people this interface, it's exactly like you said. It changes how they look at literally everything. Like the engineers here were like, well, these graphs aren't very useful because the data is biased. It's only 200 people. It's very small, and I was like, it doesn't matter
It's the principle
because
behind it.
yeah,
Yeah.
because now people are like, wait, if we they see that it's possible to do this and they see the different types it can be, and then now when they're looking at literally anything on any social media, they're like, wait, I wonder what this looks like. I wonder if
Yeah.
we had the graph for it, what would it look like? And that itself is enough for them to sort of situate it, to ask the right questions. um
Yeah. I definitely agree with you. And somebody in chat even said like UIs shape our attention. So I
mhm.
think
Yep.
it is really important. And it's always the engineers being like, this isn't useful.
Hmm.
Oh my gosh. I I d-
Yeah,
sorry, go.
I was just gonna say there's an essay I have on that note of I called it like how to build culture tech, and I was basically saying like you can if you want to implement something, you can build it in hardware, kind of hard coded. You can build it in software,
Yeah.
or you can build it in culture, in a cultural protocol. And an example, there's several examples of that, and the strongest one is um, Twitter doesn't have a an option in when you have a like on Twitter if you have a poll
I'm streaming.
people can't see the results until they select an answer to the poll. It would be nice if there was a feature like people want a feature to be able to see the results before, without having to vote.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And
And
you'll see people do that like throwaway
right,
option sometimes,
so
but
you
it's
could
a
yeah
waste.
exactly. So we'll see. So you can solve that by like literally changing the software to like add a button that says just show me the results, and that's a software solution, or it can be a cultural solution where people add a fourth option that just says show me the results, and that's a cultural solution. And then we had like this happens a lot where like it's almost like you can see a lot of products as open source in that way when people start changing their behavior in a certain way
Yeah.
to allow a certain use case, and then developers could then make a button for that. But but you can like I don't know. I just think this is a powerful idea because sometimes people make the button, sometimes people make the software, but again, people don't use it in the ways you want them to. And
Yeah.
I'm like, okay, well, we have to change behavior anyway, and so I could just sometimes you can just skip it, skip the software, just go straight to the behavior change. So that's why I'm like, I don't know. I feel like we need a new breed of engineers, which are like again culture engineers.
Are you familiar with Cluely? That Roy
Um,
guy? It's like Roy Lee, I
yeah,
think.
yeah,
I feel
yeah,
like that's a really good example of somebody who built their idea in the culture rather than in the software. Because I think they did have the code, right? But it's just like what a voice recorder attached to a language model, I think.
yep,
And like
yep.
it's not that impressive, right? It's just like these graphs. There's use, but you have to show people the use. And then he went viral for being like cheat on your girlfriend or something with like an AI tool, and he was able to kind of culture hack his way
Hmm.
through all of it, right? He got to skip over all of the other hard necessities. And I feel like we see this a lot with a lot of these young Gen Z founders, although I'm not sure how much of that is just the venture capital game because I've never been a part of that world. But
Yeah, I mean, I think this is, and this gets us to kind of like the next um, frontier here, where you like in my ideal world, there's a point we can get to where people are doing this because it's efficient, and you know that people are doing this, but I don't know. You can imagine a world where everyone's doing this and everything's just chaos.
yeah, I feel like that's kind of where we are though, right? Like if I
Yeah.
think about influencers, influencers are those social developers that you mentioned. They don't do soft code, they don't do like hard coding, but they do like social coding. And like
I,
we even saw that influencers were paid by both political parties, both the right
yep.
and left wing are paying influencers to be this like cultural influence, this linguistic influence rather than, I mean, they
Yeah.
also hire bots though, so I guess it's both sides.
But I think one of the questions I have is like, is there a like what does a healthier influencer landscape look like? Because I just think we're stuck in this like really silly um, moment where people are like, I don't like people trying to shape my behavior, so people just do it in secret. Like,
Yeah.
and like, okay, there was the Wired magazine thing about I don't know if you saw this, uh, where it was like
Yeah,
some
that's what I was referring to actually, is the
okay,
Democrats like paying all those
right.
influencers.
So yeah, and I was like, okay, well, we have we have messages we want, we have narratives that we want to propagate, and if you do it in it's very nuanced and possibly dangerous, but I'm like, okay, there's like you don't want to destigmatize it, and then everyone's just you don't want to make things worse. Hmm. I want a way for for us to do this openly, so that the good rises and the bad is more clear. It's a
Yeah.
hard sell. It's a hard sell because it's like what does this look like? But this is the question I'm trying to answer. But I feel like there's a way to do it. I feel like I have a lot of different things, but that's the question. Um, and I don't know. I mean, this is why if you go to the top, very top here, there's this tweet where so you see this pattern a lot, and I think that all the tweets are saying the same thing. They're like, I think they are. Wait, is this pro or is anti-Israel? What's
This is
this?
anti-Israel.
Okay, fair.
This is saying that Israel did it.
Okay, so this is spreading. Okay, so this is a clearly a coordinated attempt to spread a specific narrative. Okay, so what I'm trying to say here is that like so this works because what this tells us is that there's someone out there, which could be a group of like volunteers with good hearts and an organic movement, or it could be a single I don't know a single entity controlling all of these, and these are all bots. But either way,
Yeah.
we know that this is telling us that there's someone with resources. There are resources who want to propagate this message. Okay,
Yeah.
now I all I want is I'm like that's fine. Okay, if somebody wants to get my attention, let them do it. Um, and I like if you think about like those animations we were looking at, like imagine if people were looking at this transparent dashboard and then something big spikes, like a ton of tweets suddenly show up in a particular region that gets people's attention, and they go look at that. Um,
Yeah.
like I want anyone who's trying to get people's attention to be able to do that. Okay, but then the problem since for all of humanity's history is like, okay, if you do that, then people will try to sneak in stuff that's not useful inside of that attention stream,
Yeah. They'll try to Trojan horse it.
right?
Although
Or
if I'm being honest, I think that is what happens when we develop tools like this. Because everything I read this book one time. It was called The Advent of Net War. And it talked about information warfare, but specifically it talked about network warfare and what that means, and not like digital network, but just like networks of human beings, right? It's not state versus state actors. It's like ISIS
Mhm,
rather than like Iran, if
mhm.
that makes sense. Um,
Yep.
but one of the things that that book kind of touched on was that the game of scientific progress, of technological progress, of weapons progress, for lack of better terms, because I do a lot of information warfare and information operations research, so that's why I'm thinking about all this as like weapons, but that's because I
Yep.
read like military documents. Um, but what it was saying is that it's all a push and pull, right? As we develop new red team tactics, new blue team tactics pop up. Are you familiar with like red
Mhm.
and blue team? Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
So as we develop new offensive, new defensive pops up. So as we develop new defensive, it also works in reverse. As we develop these cognitive security tools, and I'm sorry for just lumping myself in there, but I do want to get way more involved with like your crowd of people because I feel like y'all are working on some very, very relevant and like very important things. But that's not here or there. As we develop these cognitive security tools, we're faced with the situation where bad actors, I don't like to say bad actors, but like misaligned actors that aren't doing what we want them to do are going to be using this information and this platform in similar ways. So it's like we develop the tools to let people see, oh my God, things are spiking about Charlie Kirk in 9/11, right? Like there's some connection there. Things are spiking. People will react to that and like respond to it and like modify their psyops in a way that like
Yep.
incorporates that into it, which is kind of what you're saying is like Trojan horsing it.
Well,
But
but
I
my question is there a way, instead of it being a forever cat and mouse game, is there a way to sort of get ahead?
I don't know if there
And
is.
okay, so this is good because
Not forever.
yeah, I think I guess I don't, yeah, I think you're right in that. I don't think there's a way to like permanently win. here. But the I think what it would be good enough is
Can I give an example of why I don't think we
yeah,
can win?
yeah, yeah,
I want to look at. There's something I was looking at on your little map here before our call. It was about language models moving the needle, I think.
yeah. I
So
think this
semantic
this one.
embeddings show what our culture sees, right? But
Yep,
one of the downsides of this public information map graphing things that are happening is that I think theoretically there could be actors that set up language model bots, right? We already have a bot issue on the internet,
yep,
but they could set up bots to monitor when these things are kind of spiking and de-spike them in
yep,
a way, right? Like
yep.
they can spread them out. They can run with these narratives that are developing, and I can see a lot of negative offensive uses for the kinds of people that would want to keep things hidden. Yeah, like just exactly. They could just signal jam. Um,
I I think yes, and let me give you. I don't remember if we talked about this last time, but a something I call surface versus solve, which I had a nice metaphor here. I'll put it under here. Oops. Okay. And so here's I'm giving an example of you're driving your car and the mirror has a blind spot
yeah,
light that lights up when there's a car there. And if there's no car there, it's not lighting up. Um, versus a rear view camera. So to me, those are categorically different systems. The blind spot sensor light, it to me it's a solve, and by that I mean it doesn't. It tells you the answer. It makes a judgment call for you. If the blind spot sensor is not lighting up, and it's like a false, but it's a um, false negative. You have no way to know that. So the light could be broken, and there's actually a car right there, and you have no you can't like you can't tell when it's not working. It looks the
yeah,
same as if there's no car there. Now the camera, on the other hand, I trust it a lot more because it's a surface. It surfaces information, doesn't make a decision. The camera just shows me what's there. If the camera one day stops working, then you don't see anything. It work. It's better for me because it never tries to make the decision. And so I then make this analogy that a fact checking system that tells you like this is true, this is not true. That's more like the blind spot mirror because it doesn't show me why it's true or false. It just tells me, and if it breaks, I have no way of knowing.
yeah,
Whereas community notes, so community notes I think is more like surface because it's not really fact checking. It just sort of gives you more information, and you could do
yeah.
that. So I think basically the stuff that if we have more like surface systems obviously like require more cognitive effort. That's the trade-off here is you can't just turn off your brain and take the answer. it,
Yeah,
it just gives you more information and you have to do more work. um
I
so I don't
definitely
know.
think
Yeah.
I definitely think that is a useful distinction. Um, One of the
Well,
issues that I think of in the consumer side though is that I feel like already social media is kind of that. It's like this surface checker and like people just take it as a solve checker. They see people on their
yes,
Twitter timeline
yes.
and they're like, this is the truth.
Right. So I think, and so this is I think I put it here. I said whitelisting. This
Mm-hmm.
is, I think, the my one of my like anchors or ground truths or the things
As
that
a
give me
solution.
hope. Yes. So even in the worst information environment, um, you can solve this problem by basically reducing who like right now. I think people just default to assuming the things you see default to trusting them. Whereas if you default to trusting no one unless you know them, first your first hand knowledge, and then your
Yeah.
immediate friends and family, and then outwards from there. So in the case of like we were talking about, like okay, you have these language monitoring tools, and you see something changing. Okay, is that change organic, or is it made up? Well, I want a button that lets me restrict it to my network, and then I can see that difference. Like I'm like, okay, this is spreading in the anonymous internet, but it's not changing in my network.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, this only works as long as you are capable of curating your own network. I feel like I've gotten to a point where like I have a good sense of truth now because I feel like I have a large trust network that's very well curated, but not
Yeah,
everybody has
yeah.
that. And so how do you give that to other people?
I think the biggest issue, or maybe not, I keep saying the biggest issue. There's a lot of biggest issues, but um how do you get people to want to care about curating their network? Like, and when I think of the average consumer, they might know that they're being manipulated by social media, but they're working their day job, they are coming home, they're tired, they don't care enough. They're scrolling on Twitter, they're scrolling on Instagram. They're like, it's mindless consumption rather than like they're information seeking, but they're also just consuming. It's like a mode of consumption rather than a mode of education in most people's situations, I would say, most of the time. Um,
Yeah, and
so
this is the part that I am simultaneously like contrarian on. Most people disagree with me on this, but I'm also just very optimistic about it. It's the belief that most people don't want to be passive um, consumers of stuff because it's like nobody's having a good time doom scrolling. Like
yeah,
nobody's actively doom scrolling. We're sort of just pulled into it. Okay, so like I think a big part of why I got popular on Twitter in the height of it was sort of making these games. Like one of the things I did was I'll take a tweet. This people love this. I'll take a tweet where someone's complaining about like right wing, and
okay,
then I'll rewrite it to be same exact language, but I'll just literally swap out right wing and left wing language, and then I'll put them side by side and say one of these is fake. Can you tell which one is the original one? And then people now it's like okay, first you're looking at like a passive thing. It's like, oh, look at these stupid right wing people complaining about left wing or vice versa. But now it's like, wait, like I'm telling you one of these is intentionally fake. And do you understand the news landscape enough to
yeah.
can you tell what's real basically? And people love that. People are like, wait, which one is real? I'm pretty sure it's this one, but a lot of people are saying it's this one, and then you're digging in. You sort of you get animated. You get like people actually love being tested. People love getting homework
Are
actually.
are these leaving your section of Twitter though, is the question, or is this your network that's really high interest, high openness, high
So
agency, for lack of better
that's
words?
it. That's it's a good question, and so I regularly will test stuff with I had this somewhere in our Discord. Like I called a normie baseline. Every medic engineer should have a normie
Yeah,
baseline, which is like one of them is my mom, and otherwise it's like real life friends around here. Um, but okay, I think an example of the things that work for on the normie baseline is yeah, I'll tell you this. Like a lot of my friends started caring who didn't care, started caring more when I would tell them things before they read them in the news. So I tell them like, oh hey, here's this thing happening, and I give them a narrative. And then the next morning they see it in the news and but it doesn't match. And that's like a dissonance. And they're like, wait, why is it what like they can't help um but pay attention.
yeah.
I actually think that works. I know it's a little hard to like I think I don't know, I want to demonstrate it more. But I do think this can work. And the other type of thing is honestly, I really think it can be a game. Like one of the kind of games I made was Um, well, I guess we could just talk about the one in front of us here, like the good evil thing.
Okay.
Um, this is it's not quite released, but I wanna play with it. But this is using language models and embeddings, and the idea is like as the word gay changed in the collective consciousness, it sort of moves. If you were to do this every year or every 10 years or whatever, you could see it
Yeah.
moving. Um, the the game here would be you're given a set of words and you're asked to rank them how you believe they are, and then like how you think the language model would rank them. And
Do you know a game have wanted to play with Memetics
yeah.
recently? But I just don't have the people to do it. But I would love to have like two red teams and we both give them completely made up word and we just basically
Mm.
see which team is
Oh
able
yeah.
to push a memetic further and integrate it better, right? Um Kind of like a have you ever seen those like hacker conferences? They're like security
Hmm.
conferences. I
Yep.
ca-
Yep.
I this one's just a high aspirational goal of mine, but I would love to create like an information operations con. I think that would be like so fun. Like a weekend, you guys try to push Memetic or something. I don't know, but
I
uh,
actually this is hold on. Let me write this down. In what do you call it?
Operation Con.
Operation con. I think this is great. I think like several people have actually like suggested this. There's a lot of energy for this.
Is
I think
there?
the only yeah, like a lot of people want this to happen. We in my cluster we call it open source psyops.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, I think the only bottleneck is how do you do it in a way that isn't annoying. It doesn't degrade
Well,
the
that's the
information
thing
environment.
that I wonder, right? Like I'll talk to journalists sometimes and they're very hands off. They just want to observe everything. They never want to engage with like things that could modify the
Yep.
environment, right? But then when I think about us as memeticists, right? It's like everything we do will impact the environment. The
Yes.
whole goal is to impact it. So if it is annoying, who cares? What if it interests more people in memetics? What if people look it up and they're like, "What the hell is this?" They stumble upon the information operation con, and maybe those teams could recruit people from the public. Like maybe this could be just a public engagement because at the end of the
I
day, I feel like language is public. Nobody,
no, you're
I,
right.
I don't, I don't believe in IP, and I know that one's a little like anti-American of me, but like IP is just language, and language is public knowledge.
Okay, there's a lot here. Let me make these blue. The I think language is public is the big takeaway that I want everyone to understand. And I think a lot of these games are hopefully meant to try to do that because a lot of language is kind of pushed. And if you see like I think of it as engineer, but I think everyone can have a good metaphor for this. But I think of it as like every change in language is like a pull request. It's like someone wanting to push code, and it's up to you to adopt it. They actually can't. They can't push code without permission. You have to choose to adopt the language, and you have a role in that. In fact, you can adopt it and change it and twist it.
Yeah,
It's up to you, and that's a choice you are making, and you have to make. Okay, so that to me, more people understanding this is be great. On the right, I agree with you about like it actually doesn't matter too much. That's annoying, but maybe what matters is that we can keep doing it because I want to do this. I want to do this a lot more. I want to do this a lot.
yeah,
So I don't want to like kill the. I want to do it in a way that people want more of it. Is the and I think actually what one way I sort of did this was when we were talking about the some of the I think you saw this for a while. I was instead of telling people about to join the Memetics Discord, I was like, there exists a Memetics Discord, and I'm just showing screenshots from it, but I wouldn't tell people how to get to
Yeah.
it. And it was kind of like it was an experiment. I was like, how hard is it to find? And then every time someone found it, we'd like change the link and put it somewhere else
Every
and see.
time? Oh my God.
Well, this lasted for like a few days, and I was actually having a really good time because there was like an enormous amount of like interest, and it was like this treasure hunt across the internet. Um, I was having a really good time, and everyone who joined, I was asking like, how did you find it, and then like what paths did you take? Describe your paths. Um, and I wanted, we kind of stopped doing it because it got way more attention actually than we wanted. So I had to stop. But I want a version where that can go even bigger because at some point I want people to. Okay, imagine this. Imagine at some point someone makes a fake one, a fake Discord, so that people are searching for it end up in the wrong one.
Yeah.
Um, and that's actually part of it. Like we actually, I think the more you do this kind of thing, the more normal people start to understand. Like, wait, do you see what just happened there? If you see that, if you get this idea, you'll realize when you're searching for information about a product, a company, a drug, a stock, whatever, if you have nefarious purposes, there's two ways to hide information. You go censoring it or by putting up fake versions of the thing. That's so that people
Yeah.
find the fake. That's it. It's so and so it's like, okay, well now that you like I think a lot of people have been trying to solve this problem by, stopping through exercising control to stop bad actors, and I'm trying to say if you explain to people the tactics, because I know what the response is to this, but hold on. Like if you explain to people the tactics, they have greater discernment. Okay, then you're like,
Yeah.
okay,
Yeah.
well,
Yeah.
but you're like, okay, well, if people now learn, if some tactic stops working, another tactic pops up, and I'm like, okay, the end, yes, but again, I think the thing I want to get to, but we just don't have the language for this or tools to visualize this, but I think I think we can look at the medic landscape and we can look at it changing. Like it's not always the same. It's
Yeah.
not like sometimes it's easier than other times to for for true information to propagate. And I just want a measure of the health of that. Um, and I think we can evolve it. I think we can evolve it. We can tilt the balance a little bit. Because now it just feels now it's I think where we're at now is just a kind of a race to the bottom. It's still kind of a downward spiral. I think the end result of what we have is that people just stop trusting anything, and that's just and just everything goes dark, and that's not.
Yeah. We need to like redevelop the immunity. I don't know if you ever played Plague Inc., but it's like this virus is spreading, right? And we have to find a way to finish the vaccine before everybody's infected.
I actually think that's a great yeah. That's it. And again, I keep saying like even if things get even much worse, which I think has happened in probably Russia, Turkey for a while. I don't know if it's still the case, but for a while, people just literally didn't trust anything other than their immediate family and friends, and they knew that everything in the news it was always narratives and counter narratives, and you never knew what to trust.
Now, this is where an exciting question kind of comes up, and it's like, do we then decide to like formalize a new institution? Do we decide to kind of back the old institution, or do we find like a new already existing institution to support, right? Like what direction do we take when we're trying to engage in information, right? We're engaging in just like a public thing because governments are non-public. Governments are private. So it's like, do we involve ourselves aligned with the government? Do we align ourselves anti-government? Like what's the framing that we take as like a language organization? In your
I think
opinion, in your opinion.
yeah, because I think of it as um, this like open warfare, open information warfare in the sense that like right now there's information warfare, but it's hidden. People can't
Yeah.
see the war that's happening. They're actively people are. actively soldiers for one side or another, but they don't realize it.
Yeah.
Um, okay, and then there's a world. Okay. I think this might be where we're tilting towards a world where the war is more obvious, and you you trust. You have the institutes that you trust. You have the networks that you trust. So it's like this small white list, and then there's all these other pieces, and then the alliances that cooperate grow their trust network,
Yeah.
um, and that's what supersedes that. That's what sort of rebuilds the institutions that used to be,
Yeah.
have
I feel
this
like
role.
we kind of see that happening with like MAGA. I know a lot of people hate to talk about this because they're just extremely anti-MAGA blanketly, but I have this video where I talk about parasociality and I talk about this idea of developing plurs, right? And developing those like egregores around various topics, around people, etc. Um, but the kind of idea that I'm getting at is that MAGA was pushed out of the old institutions, right? The old institution basically said like MAGA's not allowed at all. Like you're completely barred. So they just built their own. Like they
Yep.
essentially ran like a 7 year information operation. And I watched a Gavin Newsom and Charlie Kirk interview, and Charlie Kirk straight up talked about how TPUSA was the reason the Republicans won because they ran an information operation and successfully converted like 35% of Gen Z men into like the right leaning figures. So it's like these things are already happening. And I,
Yep.
I definitely think it's interesting to get to live through this time of like transitoriness. But it's a little scary too.
Is Yeah. No, it is, and but I think this is to me sort of the good news. I think this is ultimately the right direction, the better direction. Like I think it's worse. I think secret war. Secret culture war is worse. Secret information war is worse than public one,
Yeah.
because you don't even know whose side you're on, and I'd rather people just know who's fighting who. Like an example, like
I definitely agree with that. It would be nice to have a map of like who's where in the virtual realm.
right, and then this is what gives me optimism here, because you might think like, okay, well, imagine a neutral institute that's like, we're gonna explain to you the culture war, and we're gonna explain who's on whose side and who's neutral. Now that I don't, you shouldn't trust that. You shouldn't trust that, because like,
Yeah.
who are you? You could just be lying about who you are. Okay, but if if you see that everyone's biased, you're like, okay, well, here's my people, and my people say this is who's on our side and who's against us, and then the other guys might say your people are lying to you, and they're lying to you because of XYZ. Now
Yeah.
I can see that. Like I want to. That's basically it. It's like you look at what your people say, and then look at what the enemy says, and if the
Decide what's
enemy
real.
says right, and sometimes, and actually the enemy. So this is the beautiful part. The enemy is incentivized to surface true things that are damning about your side,
Yeah.
and your side is incentivized to surface true things that are damning about the other side. And
Or to
now
even
we're
lie
basically,
about those damning things. Like they could explicitly go out of their way to cover up all of the negative aspects that like the other side wants to rise.
yes. So the thing that keeps it in check is not like it doesn't rely on people, like it doesn't rely on like I never rely on the left wing being honest about the right wing. I rely on the
Yeah.
left wing pointing out the bad stuff about the right wing, and then I go to the right wing to get the, like, you see, it's very simple. It's like everyone's like a lawyer for their side.
Yeah.
We no, I this is one of the essays I want to write, and I want to spread this idea. So this is actually an example of like an open source psyop I want to do. But they're like, I think the idea that there's an unbiased journalist is kind of a silly thing, and I think that's just gonna go away, because like there's no such thing as an unbiased objective lawyer.
Yeah.
And it would be silly if someone walked in and was like, "I'm going to represent both sides." There's a reason why the adversarial system works much better. It's because you could be objective, but maybe there's truth that proves the innocence of this thing, but it's really hard to find. So you have to go out of your way to scrape the barrel to find truth that aligns with the side. So I don't trust the objective neutral person, even if they have a good heart and they're trying to do a good job. I
Yeah.
trust someone who has skin in the game, someone who really wants that side to win at all costs. I
I
trust them to
almost
surface.
trust
Yeah,
those good-hearted people less than like the people that are saying like not literally, but the ones that are saying like I will do everything it takes to destroy you. Like not in the literal sense, but I'm going to believe that person. That person seems a lot more resolute in their beliefs
right,
than somebody who's like
right. You know
tiptoeing
where they
around
stand.
something.
And I think actually, and this is maybe like a good because I thought of this after our last talk, but to the question of like how can we help normies? And I'm thinking of it as like, okay, we can sit around and debate the the memetic landscape and all these details, but then when
Yeah.
we're done, we can sit down and just say like, okay, here's like, you know how the CDC puts out like, wash your hands for 5 seconds or whatever. Like here's like the
Yeah,
seven
yeah, yeah.
simple, like we can sort of develop a protocol to be like, if everybody did these tweaks or understood these simple ideas, the entire landscape would be much better. And not everyone has to understand why it works, but all we need is for each um, culture to translate these ideas to their people.
I
And I
agree a
think
million percent.
I
So
think it's I think it's very feasible again because the idea is that these recommendations would help your people. They would help your culture spread and grow and surface truth. It would actually help you colonize and spread your ideology. Because
so
there's stuff that, yeah,
this is actually so interesting because I think this is what religions do, right? Like I would say that initially most religions were probably written for the people that wrote them, right? Those immediate cultures.
yep,
But I think as religions spread and as they like develop more entropy content, one thing, sorry, slightly switching directions, but not really. Staying on religion, but away from the Judaistic religions, because I was thinking of like Christianity, but I was thinking of paganism, like Roman paganism the other day. And I was like, some when I'm thinking about information as like this plur structure, as like a biological system, the Roman pagan system makes a lot more sense because gods are just references to like specific cultural um memories, right? Like when you say I think it was Aphrodite. She's like goddess of the hearth, right? No, no, goddess of beauty. So you think of like a beautiful woman, but the point of the religion is to develop the like meta narratives that get translated down elsewhere.
yep,
So I almost feel like we need a virtual religion in a way that like people can implicitly understand these topics even if they don't explicitly understand them because
yep.
information and intelligence itself is stored in the like symbols on the screen and the way that we interpret it. It's like the synthesis of those two things. Anyways, long story short, religion's really cool, but I think that's what religion does is
But
that like
honestly, I think that's it, and that's how this is how I sort of came back around to it. I think memetics is almost religion from first principles because you just start thinking about like we literally ended up here. We're like, okay, not everyone has to understand it, but what if we just like tell simple stories that encode the behavior that we want? And you're like, oh shit, that's what
yeah,
that, that's what all of it was. So, but here's the nice thing: is like I don't know, like now that we're here, like I don't know, part of what I've been doing is like trying to explain this to people. But again, it is kind of weird and esoteric, but it doesn't matter. Like I have I had a snippet here from under the open questions where I talk about Hank Green, and I see
mm-hmm.
Hank Green as like but essentially performing the role of a priest. Like his work is, first of all, people trust him to make sense of the world, and when anything happens, they're lost. They don't know what it means, what it means for them, and then he goes and not only does he make sense of things for people, but he tells new stories. He
Even if
crafts
they're
narrative.
completely unrelated to his topics, they just trust him as like a generalized expert.
Yeah, and the stories that he tells people, the narratives that he crafts, do like people live by them. People see the world through them, and he is in like unlike. And I made this, and I wanted to make a distinction between what someone like Hank Green does and what a typical liberal influencer does. And I think Hank Green and people like him, who I call memetic engineers, traditionally we call them priests, are different because they are intentionally trying to um, like they're cultivating a specific. They're trying to cultivate the landscape in a specific direction, whereas the
Yeah.
typical liberal influencer or typical influencer in general is sort of chasing. Um, they're like, tell me if this makes sense. They're like inside the current rather than shaping the current.
Yeah, I actually agree completely. When I think of liberalism, I'm thinking of like, okay, oh God, we're really breaking everything down. So I mentioned the plur term earlier, right? Plural virtual intelligence.
Mm-hmm.
Well, as opposed to a plur, what is a plur made of? It's made of a bunch of sings, which are singular virtual intelligences,
Mm-hmm.
right? And when I think of liberalism, it's kind of the promotion of the sing, right? It's the promotion of the individual, but individuals are very limited in the way that they can engage in the information environment, right? As one person, you have a lot less flexibility and control than as a plur. Like illiberal systems are plur structures insofar as like they see themselves as a body, right? Like if I think about communists, communists see themselves as a body of communists. If I think about fascists, they see themselves as like a body that's trying to take over their government or whatever, right? Like they see themselves as a super organism, whereas liberals see themselves as just like I'm one human. I'm not like even like conservatives that we think of in American, because I don't really agree with left right in America. I feel like it doesn't. I feel like it's an old political spectrum that might have had a lot of value in the past, but I feel like things are just changing so fast that it's no longer super relevant. But the reason a lot of people dislike conservatism is because I think conservatives do focus on that idea of like their cluster, their plur. They focus
Mm-hmm.
on their family, their
Yep.
city, their like tribe. Whereas liberals are saying, I care about everybody. They really care about themselves, but they say they care about everybody. Anyways, that's not important right now. But liberals say, I care about everybody. I don't know if you've ever seen that graph where it's like liberals care about people on the outside and then
Oh yeah,
conservatives
yeah,
care
yeah.
about, but like when I see that, that's what I'm thinking of. I'm thinking like liberals prioritize their own individuality and individualness, whereas conservatives see themselves as like one part of a larger machine. Um, and I don't remember why I got started doing that. Because you're talking about liberals pushing things, and I think that the reason liberals do that, because this is the other thing that I don't usually convey very well, is because of the widespreadness of American imperialism, for lack of better terms, right? Like we're all across the country in terms of our plur as a nation, and liberals see themselves as like representative of that, as like of America, of NATO, of like this larger imperial structure. So even if they want to change the imperial structure, they still identify as part of it, but they also, through identifying as like I am the whole world, they aren't actually able to like comprehend most of it because it's just overwhelming. Like
Mm-hmm.
how are you able to have, like you said earlier, there is no unbiased lawyer or journalist. And I think a lot of liberals think of themselves as unbiased
Yep.
when in
Yep.
reality that makes them ultra biased.
Yeah. Yep. Yep. So I think that's it. I think that like it's just a little silly. It's still silly from the outside, but I was gonna pitch you this here.
Yeah.
The the goal of the goal number one of the mimetic scientists may be help my tribe grow and
Yeah.
conquer and have the resources or at least defend. Okay, but goal number two may be improve the mimetic landscape, the shared mimetic landscape, the common infrastructure underneath of which that we all share. Okay,
Yeah.
so like, and this I think the missing thing, and once it starts to happen, it's gonna change everything. Like, imagine a network of um, what I'm calling these priests or these these special influencers who I think do more crafting of narratives than just amplifying and propagating. Um, Sort of connecting with each other. Like you might think like, okay, which if you're gonna have a lot of right wing people, and let's say you hate the right wing, like which subculture in the right wing would you rather see grow? So
Yeah.
you're like,
Like
okay, well, what
pick your favorite enemy.
exactly? And you're like, okay, well, one of these, and actually, this is why I say, and let me highlight it here. Like the reason Hank Green should be interesting to right wing people is because it's much more likely if there's a truth from the right wing and you want to surface it to the liberal audience, it's much more likely that Hank Green's audience would be willing to listen to it than
Yeah.
say Taylor Lorenz or other people. So so there's actually quite there's a huge power struggle here, but I think a Memetic Institute again that is not neutral, but that can form a network between all these different people can make a big change here, which is like I think what Hank Green's doing is good because it's improving the information environment for everyone. The right wing in this case might like him, but then you can see how the other liberal influencers might hate him
Yeah.
because he's like you're opening up a channel for people to potentially believe things or like potentially be converted away from our side. Like, what are you doing? Don't admit truths from the other side.
Yeah.
Um, but what we want, but so those people, okay, so those people who are trying to improve the information environment are at a disadvantage because of this naturally. Now, what we're here supposedly to sort of counterbalance that. So all we basically want to go through find people who are at this disadvantage but are doing good work in all subcultures um, and help them and amplify them and sort of frame them, connect them. So I don't know. I mean, I think this is it. This is the war. This is our part in the war.
Yeah.
And I think this is basically one of the big things I have in front of me. It's like, can I build this network? And I think it's kind of like a secret whisper network. Now it's mostly I know some people, other people know some people. It's not a very big network
Yeah.
yet, but
It's
I think it
rapidly
can.
fleshing out though. I feel like I see people joining, at least the community archive. You should invite me to the OMI Discord though. I'm not in that one. But
That
in the
that there
community archive one.
yeah, there isn't there actually there isn't there's like a dead OpenMedics server that started a long time ago. There's not much happening there. The
Oh,
the community archive is kind of
it's poppin'.
it is the official one.
Mm.
But again, there still isn't like a okay. I think once we I think if we just literally like there doesn't exist. We were talking about making a wiki for memetics.
Yeah.
And I think part of that wiki would be like who's doing what. Honestly, I think as soon as anyone does that, it's going to blow up, and everyone's going to be want to be in the network. Because I think being part of
Yeah.
this network, because being part of this network gives you a lot of information, so everyone wants to be part of it, but also potentially amplifying your messages. So I'm not I'm confident it can grow pretty quickly. It's just a question of for me if it's powerful, then people will be trying to subvert it and use it for nefarious ends. That's fine. That's expected. All I need to
Yeah.
do is make it so that that stuff is transparent, so that even if I can't get the message out that like, hey, that guy's abusing the system, that anybody can, like the system. So that's
Yeah. And I think it's useful to have a group of people that's kind of focused on this. Because I think it was either in the first Net War book or the excuse me, the sequel to it about the Zapatistas. I'm not sure if you're familiar, but they like I think they're a communist organization that like did a revolution in somewhere in South America. But it was talking about how like a very small dedicated group of individuals will have an outsized impact on like a large group of individuals that are unfocused and
mm,
unlike
yep,
you know they're not like locked in. So if this group is locked in on like raising people's epistemology, developing cogsec like by and large, I think it'll be useful regardless of like hurt feelings on either side,
yep,
right?
yep. Yeah, I think that's a good way to put it. Because there's another like kind of law I would put in the Memetics wiki or whatever that like a lot of the way people change their minds on a mass scale isn't that like you need to get a million people to change your opinion. It's actually that you just need to get like a small number of people that all the other people follow, they trust. That's it.
Yeah,
So it actually is a scarily small number that you need to convert mass scale.
it's
But
actually
that's also good news.
terrifying. No, and it is
It go
terrifying.
yeah yeah. Well, it can't that the one of my maxims or phrases here is anything that's it can be a feature if you
True, true. I
yeah
I still think it's scary. Like the nuclear bomb is very impressive,
oh yeah
but it's scary whether it's your country or or like an opposing country that has it.
yeah and it's I actually think like I think anytime like a big decisions that impact everyone can be done by a very small number of people. Like it's
Yeah.
nice that you're empowered, but also it's pretty bad if people make the wrong decisions and now you're stuck with it.
I think
Um,
that's one thing most people don't realize, like that your average normie is that like I think it's 1% of the internet is super posters and then like 4 to 9% is like regular posters and then most people are just lurking. Like
yep,
if you have a dedicated, motivated organization, you're able to very, very,
yep,
very quickly get an outsized influence. Like I think we saw this with ISIS recruiting people on Twitter like 10 years ago, maybe I don't know. They did like widespread recruiting and they got a
yep,
ton of people from like North America, like the West, right?
yep, yep,
Um, what else? There's the example of the Twitter thing that you showed where everybody was saying the same thing. And I've also seen videos of newscasters doing that same thing where they
yep.
like stack them all up. Everybody's saying word for word the same exact thing. And there wasn't even ChatGPT then. So like you can't even blame it on like, oh, it was the auto predictor.
Yeah, I think
Anyways.
well, I mean, one of the games or sort of pieces of art or whatever that I want to do here is the um again, honestly, keeps going back to this whitelist or trust network thing. Like there's a thing I was doing for a while where I like sent like anonymous one question surveys to my friends,
Mm-hmm.
and it's almost actually like asking my friends for like a tweet, people who are otherwise pretty offline. Um,
Yeah.
but it's like, okay, here's an opinion in the news that on Reddit or on the internet. And I'm like, okay, but out of my 20 friends that I see and talk to, what do they think? And it's possible, okay, 90% of them say align with the internet, or it's possible it's flipped. And then the reason why I think of this more as an art project than as a science project is there's an emotional reaction you have when you see this, which is you might have an outlier opinion relative to the internet, and you feel like it's you're weird, and so you're sheepish about it. You wouldn't really mention it in real life with your friends, but in this anonymous survey, you do mention it, and you expect to be the outlier. You expect to be one of 20. But
Yeah.
then when you do that, and actually it turns out like 19 out of 20 said the thing, and they all feel like outliers. And we're like, guys, we're not outliers. We're like, this is actually the normal in our group. Um, So to me, like the data doesn't matter as much as your relationship to your egregore, and it's like, okay, do you like do you see why this is a big difference? Like having a belief that you think is abnormal and knowing that your belief is normal makes a very big difference
In the way that
because
you'll act.
yes,
Yeah.
because the one of the most powerful ways to change human behavior is fitting in. Like you, if a behavior is there's a lot more pressure if you're doing something that's abnormal. Because why is it if you're doing something so good, why is no one else doing it? Like that's actually a
Yeah.
good question. Like I actually really want to destigmatize the word normie. I think a lot of people I think normie is pretty nobody wants to be a normie.
It's a slur.
It's a slur, yeah. But I'm like normie is an important role in the cultural landscape. Normie actually I want to make normie not a passive thing because I think the reason people see it as a slur is because it's like, oh, you're an NPC, you don't think about it, you just absorb. You're passive.
Yeah, yeah.
And I'm like, no, actually, I think the normie, a good normie, the good normie is actively, it's like holding the ground. They are keeping the tectonic plates underneath the stable. They are
Yeah.
the tectonic plates of the Memetic landscape. They won't change. The normie will not change their mind. Here's what the normie does. The normie does not change their mind until they see that until it passes the threshold of critical mass. They look at a new trend and they're like, maybe this is good, maybe it's not. I'm going to wait. I'm going to hold down the fort until enough people prove that it's good, and then I will absorb it. And that's a really important function. That's good. I don't want to change that. The only problem is that we keep tricking people into thinking this has passed the critical mass when it actually has not. And okay, if you break that mechanism, like I think sometimes like it's good. Like sometimes you want to make it push a change to all the normies, and it's actually good, and everyone's happy, and nobody has any regrets. Um, it's good to be able to change things, but changing things in this honest way, just kind of backfires. Wait, can I give you one last thing? And
Yeah,
this will
yeah,
be good. Good. I call it push versus pull. Yeah, tell me if it.
Where are you writing this? Is it at the
I'm
bottom?
gonna put it. I'm gonna put it.
Oh, you're
Actually,
like
where are you?
screenshotting or something.
Yeah, I'm going to let me move it to the right here. Okay. Push versus pull. Let me remember here. Basically, I claim that I think we can do culture change only using pull, not push. And the difference is push would be you make it look like everyone's using this new trend, but actually it's a bunch of influencers. So that's like push because people didn't know. Okay, then pull is basically no coercion. You expose people to it, and then you wait for them to intentionally pull it into their mind. It's a okay. Um, so I claim that we can have a society where we only do pull, and that's actually going to be better.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, now this is where people tell me like, okay, well, if you are an institute, you refuse to use push, you're just going to lose because other people who are willing to use push are just going to win.
Okay.
They're going to be able to do change faster than you can. You're just going to lose. And I think, like, my rebuttal is I think no, because what sticking to pull just forces you to resolve any friction. So if you want people to do a thing and they don't want to do it, the question is why don't they want to do it? Maybe they don't understand it, and then in which case maybe you can see that and explain it better, or maybe there's a reason why that's actually bad for them, and then you can find out that reason, and then like okay, then you're not going to push something that will actually make things worse. Um, so if you're trying to do pro social culture change, pull helps you because it avoids errors, avoids mistakes, avoids you doing things that make things worse. And on the flip side, if we can change the memetic landscape to make push harder, like some of these things change the landscape in a way that makes certain types of change harder. And if I can make push much more expensive, and I can make pull cheaper, then we win. I guess that's the
Yeah. One way that this is kind of running in my head is that I just as like a shorthand, not as like definitive labels. I kind of label society in like four periods of like pre-technological, then like the techno society, and then like the digital or the socio-digital era, and then now we're in like this cyber social era. But really what I want to elaborate on is that last one of like cyber sociality. I feel like historically through human existence, we have been underexposed to information. Like we had books and we had like we have forms of entropy that are stored in the material reality, but not to the extent that we have today. Like 200 years ago, you could be a famous scientist for discovering comparatively very basic things, right? Um, but today people are exposed to so much information in ways that even our parents and grandparents weren't. Like if I think about my parents or grandparents growing up, the way that they grew up was kind of based on whatever society told them was available, right? And like it's the same way when I was growing up, except my growing up was with the internet. It was with technology, it was with so many more options than previous generations. And I think that in this like information overwhelm time, in this like in the land of infinite information as compared to the land where we need to determine everything, which, you know, if there's too much information, again, it's like if something's infinite, it's practically nothing, which I know doesn't sound like it makes sense, but it makes sense to my brain. um if there's too much information, we need to redevelop these kinds of relationships to information because historically
yep,
push has been vital, right? Like if you're
yep,
a
you're right.
village elder and you don't push,
Yep,
your information's gonna die out when you
yep,
die, and like
yep,
it'll just be gone forever. And like that happens. We have a lot of lost information, lost wisdom. You've
yep.
seen that meme where it's like we don't even know how to do it anymore,
Yep.
right? But it's like
Well, and this is actually I think why this is kind of blocked here because I think it's actually dangerous. Okay, if we did succeed, let's say we succeeded in making push very expensive, and
yeah,
then one day there's like a thing that's actually like I don't know, you need people to change their behavior because there's a danger that's coming, and people are like, well, I need more information in order to decide, and then it's too late, and then we all die. So
yeah,
there's like anytime there's a good reason, there's good reasons why this like anytime there's a good reason to resist the change, like you can have again these bad actors sort of slide in Trojan horse in because they're like, well, what you're doing is actually like as long as there's good reasons for push, people also use it for bad reasons.
yeah.
And I'm like, okay, but I think we can solve this through discernment if we can be like, okay, well, here's all the good reasons for push, and if you can see, but those ones are bad, and so can we target it even more? Like, can we make?
Do you use ChatGPT at all or any language models? I'm assuming you do, but I just want to confirm before I ask a question.
Yes, mostly for coding things,
Do you
but
ever
also,
ask them like, what do you think I should do X thing, or like what do you think about like Y? And then it's like I think it could be good for these three reasons or bad for these three reasons. And then for me personally, sometimes I feel more overwhelmed after
mm,
getting the like both sides of it because it's like I'm still confused. I still don't know
mm,
which one's better for me. I don't really know how to like fit this into my own frameworks that like I'm
okay,
working on here. So like I'm just left decisionless. Or if you ask it like what's better, A or B, it will give you the pros and cons of both sides. And sometimes it's
Yeah.
like, okay, now I'm just overwhelmed. Like I honestly just feel kind of like there's too much information in front of me. Um
I think this is
so
real, and this is why I in an ideal on a good day, I'm rooted in testing.
yeah.
I think this is like the biggest change that's happened to me like before and after all this work is like I do feel like there's a ground truth here, and no matter if everybody in the world, and this is what's not true about me a year ago, but if everyone in the world, all the smartest people said something is X, but I'm looking at it and it seems Y, I'm going to trust what I see with my first-hand knowledge, and then I'll try it because I know I can try it, and it depends, of course, on like the risk you're taking, but you can. It's like with a piece of code, like if you can just run the code and see for yourself,
Yeah.
and if everybody's saying a different thing, you're like, okay, well, I don't know why they're saying that. Maybe I'll find out one day. But as far as I can tell, it's why. I'm just gonna go with that. Um, so, I feel that way now but with everything. Like I feel grounded because I feel like everything can be tested. I used to feel like only code can be tested. I
Yeah.
know how to find truth in the world of code, but I don't know how to find truth in the world of philosophy and politics. But I do now, and it's sort of be like, okay, well, you can take any narrative, you can test the truth value, the predictive power of a narrative,
Yeah.
because it's like, okay, but one of the first ones I tested was everyone's like, oh, the right wing people are evil. I'm like, okay, well, I can test it. I can go talk to them and be
Yeah.
like, okay, what do you what do you what how and just spend a day with them. And it's like, what do you do? Like, do you just walk around kicking puppies, or like, wait, you're doing this charity, or like you're actually kind of a nice guy, or like why? So that the narrative doesn't seem to completely be right. I can search for a more nuanced narrative. Um, so that's it. It's okay. It's okay to like you can take all the narratives if you have a way to test them. That's how you can climb out of the hole. Otherwise, you can like read. You can spend eternity reading and gaining information, but you have no idea how much of that to trust. And in fact, some of the people you talk to can be very. They're not bad people. Again, they're giving you what they believe to be true, but they're wrong.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
there has to be
It's like
grounding.
what do you do? That is the kind of the hard part of like engaging with information. And I think that's why I agree that we need to encourage like agenticness. We need to encourage people to take autonomy over their own information environments, over their own understanding space. Like if somebody says something, verify it. Don't just pull it into your understanding space without understanding if it's true or not, or if you really want it. Even if it's not
Yeah,
true, it can be
e-
directionally correct, and you could still decide to agree with it temporarily or permanently. But know that it's not true and that you're using it as like a narrative tool.
exactly. And which is to me like I think epistemology sounds like a big word, and a lot of people are like, "What the heck is that?" But I think everybody can have this, which is like for each piece of information you have, you also have a sense of like, where did I get this from?
Yeah.
And it's like, okay, well, it's a random tweet versus like my mom versus my employer, and for each of those, here's the trick. Now, when you live your life and something happens that you don't expect, you go back and be like, wait, so it seems my mom was wrong about this, or my employer was wrong about this. And then in the future, now you have this sort of sense of like, okay, well, my mom seems to have a 50% hit rate. The Twitter seems to have a 70% hit rate, more than the news, which is weird. And then that's it. You're just keeping track of where everything comes from. Well,
Twitter
and
is
the
the
idea is
news
like,
now. That's what Elon Musk says.
what's that?
I said Twitter is the news now.
Oh
That's what
yeah,
Elon
yeah.
Musk says.
Well, but it's like which part of Twitter, and then what are you even reading, and then yeah, it's actually kind of
Yeah.
terrible. Elon Musk knows how bad the information environment is, and he's just using it. That's why a lot of people are upset. But like he's not trying to make it better. I think I think it's because he doesn't know how to. Honestly, I think he looked at it the same way a lot of people looked at it, which is like people are stupid, people don't seem to want to improve. So what do I do about it? Well, I believe my side is what's best for humanity, so I'm just going to use whatever tools are available to
Yeah,
me to spread my side.
exactly. That's literally
And
what happened. He was like, "Oh, we're just gonna make it more right wing. We're gonna free speech it, but then we're going to like not actually free speech it." It's like, okay, good job, Elon. You win.
he's he's sort of it's like I said, it's like I understand why your priority one is for your ideology to win because otherwise, you know, that survival is the number one goal for every
Yeah,
culture, but that's fine. But number two is is creating the shared infrastructure that we all rely on because we can all everything can just die. Like I think I just think it's not a hard sell. I think everybody I'm so sure that inside of every subculture there's one group that understands that their odds of survival are greater if they contribute to the shared infrastructure because greater access to truth helps you win. That's the truth. Greater access to truth helps
yeah.
you win. So any subculture that increases its ability to gain truth wins and transforms
Hmm.
its culture from the inside. And then that I want you see what I'm saying? Like each subculture has a truth seeking piece, and if I can help each one grow, then that makes that guy much more powerful. But that forces the
Yeah,
other guys to find the truth seeking people in their group and help them rise. And then we that's how we flip the downward spiral. Like right now, each subculture's truth seeking unit is kind of failing. There's
suppressed.
right,
Yeah,
yeah, exactly. They're all like, wait, well, what can we do? And I'm like, this we can all coordinate, even though we I don't want you to win, but I want this meta thing to win. And I think in a fair fight, that's what I was saying in the last call. I was like, in a fair fight, the good guys win. What the heck does that mean? That means you believe your side is good and better. So if you have the truth, it will help you win. So you're on your side because you think you're the correct side. And so I want you. I don't even want you to change that. I want you to just see it through. Just use the truth to help yourself win.
yeah.
And the other guys, when the other guys also see the truth, you believe that it'll convert them. When the better they get at truth seeking, the more they'll convert to your side. That's what you believe. That's good. I want you to keep going there. That's it.
I definitely agree with you. When I'm thinking on like this like biological epistemological level, like I mentioned earlier, when I'm visualizing the blurs in my head and I'm like seeing these bubbles of ideology move around, I I I I almost can understand why they needed to be divisive in the past due to like the like limitations, right? Like if you see truth as like I need to be able to grow this food on your land that you're living on, so I'm gonna kill all of you, right? Like, sorry, I it got violent. Those things are useful in like a pre-cyber, maybe even pre-socio-digital period, but now I feel like these kinds of plur structures are like it's almost like rocks and lichens, right? Like they're growing on each other, they're like integrating within one another. It's not really, we don't need the
I
division in the ways that we have
I
in the past because of how
I,
interconnected we are in our brains through the internet.
I think that's
That's what I
true.
think.
Actually, if you zoom in, tell me if this sort of
Yeah, yeah,
articulates
yeah.
what you're saying. Because I'm like, humans need tribes, tribes need walls. The other side is evil is one way of reinforcing those walls, but it's often, not quite, or like, you can say any false thing about the other side about why they're bad, but it's not true, so it doesn't hold up the wall very well. I'm like, it would actually be much better if you can find a way to reinforce your wall that's true. It's like, why are we really good? And that's why we're sticking together, as opposed to why the other side is, these false. It's
Yeah,
it's so
but
simple. Yeah.
building on your example here, I think if there's like a fifth step, there's also the option of just wait. Like, I think that eventually, through interconnectedness, we do end up becoming integrated. Like, if we think of the way that there are people from all these different countries that communicate, I can talk to somebody in China, in Russia, in Iran, like, they can speak to us. Information is not siloed by physical location anymore. We all have near instantaneous like access to anybody. Like, I interviewed some Chinese trans woman one time just because I like found her on social media, and it was like, this never would have happened 20 years ago, even 10 years ago. This is unlikely to happen. And now it's like common. Like, I was on Red Note, which is a Chinese social media. I'm talking to Chinese people, they're talking to like Americans, and like there's so much information flow between each other that it's like there are walls, but there are ropes on the walls, there are tunnels under the walls, there are doors in the walls. It's like there's walls, but are the walls real, or do we just think the walls are real because like the guy in the government office over there is telling us that we're not allowed outside the walls because we're gonna get killed by the other tribe.
Well, this is actually what's interesting to me because even if everybody is cooperating, there may be there could still be sort of accidents happening here where you like, let's say they have a culture that's really good for them, works for them, and you're learning about them. You're like, well, this is great. I want to try it, and then you try it, and then I don't know, for whatever reason, it just doesn't apply to your context, to your people, to
Yeah,
your
yeah, yeah.
and like I think that's sort of normal. Like this is where like okay, it some things don't transfer. Um, I don't know. This is where like I have a big thing thinking about like blasphemy and how blasphemy is a real thing, and I define it as like any sort of belief that's like corrosive to a group
Okay.
because like there may be things that are true, but if you were to adopt them or believe them, they hurt your group. They hurt at the very least your group cohesion, um, and that it's treated as blasphemy. It's treated as stigma for that culture
Like an
because
example of this could be witch hunts. I learned recently that a lot of, well, I don't know how true this is. It could just be like Twitter, but narratively, it's useful about how a lot of witch hunts and like people that would claim that these women were doing witchery or magic was because they would get night terrors and they would be like, oh, the devils are visiting her at the night. But the other thing I learned is that like rates of sexual assault were incredibly high. So like these night terrors could have been sexual assault from like family
mm,
members, neighbors, etc. And then it's very bad for the cohesiveness of the
mm,
tribe to like oust all these strong men, right? So it's like, well, let's just kill the problematic people. And it's like I'm not advocating for that. I'm just saying like that's a historical example of blasphemy being a way to maintain social cohesion as compared to be like, "Oh my god, they were so stupid 300 years ago. They thought
right.
witches were real."
No, and this is actually what I'm saying. Like there, I think every time like you see this everywhere where like I would basically say what we want today is like to debug blasphemy. I want a blasphemy
Yeah.
debugger because there's a reason why. Okay, if there's truth and you see resistance to truth, a lot of people on the internet are stuck on those people are dumb. We got to hammer them with the truth, otherwise they're bad people. And I'm like, hold up, can we look at what is why is the resistance? This is why the push versus pull thing for me. Okay, let's say you succeed in hammering them with the truth, and then you realize, oh shit, now it's worse because it has this other side effect that again, the simplest one is like the group just falls apart, and now people are outcast, and now you have all these like refugees, and you're like, are you gonna take care of them? Like, are you gonna welcome them in or not? So if you can successfully debug the blast, the ideal case is like again a priest or like a medic engineer, someone like Hank Green in
Yeah.
a group will take the blasphemy and then figure out what to do with it. Because sometimes it's just a matter of telling a new story, or like yeah, actually a lot of times it's you're doing the scaffolding to deal with it. The
Yeah.
easiest thing is just to reject it, but if it has truth in it, You kind of have to deal with it. So that's it. That's why I'm like I see people yelling at each other, internet arguments, and I'm like, okay, first of all, you guys are speaking different languages, you're in different cultures. You're not gonna, you will not be subject to the consequences of this truth you're trying to spread. You're going to spread this truth and then you're just going to get out of there. They're going to have to deal with the consequences of it. So if you don't have skin in the game, that's why I'm like don't let lawyers from other cultures, infiltrate your space. Like you can talk to them on in this neutral ground, but if you're
Yeah.
in your space, they don't get to have a say in your space. The people who should have a say in your culture are these priests, these people that you trust. Um, you do your own internal engineering, do this exchange outside of the boundaries of your culture. Recognize that you're talking to a lawyer or someone from a different culture.
Yeah. We
That's
we
it.
just need
That's
a
the game.
we need a memology. No, no,
Yeah.
no. Memarchy. We need a
How do you spell it?
like a monarchy except with
Oh, well,
like
actually, no.
memeticians.
I really think like this is the good. Okay, you know you're on the right track when you look at the world. And you're like, wait, this has already happened. The structure is already there, and it's like
Yeah.
again, each culture has this like again people that they look up to that they. And honestly, I think if we were to draw that map, that honestly, I think that would kick it off, right? Like I want every culture to sort of say, okay, here's the people I trust. Here's my priest. And if they don't like the word priest, we call it something else, and that's it. And then we can make this big map, and you can see how some people are like equivalent, like one like Hank Green. There's other people who do what Hank Green does in the same sort of sphere. So you can just you kind of pick one, or they're in the same folder in my head, and they're like, okay, well, who's in the right wing space who does this? Who's in each space that does this?
Yeah.
And obviously, again, if you make this network, the reason I haven't done this yet is because if you have this network and it's legible, it's like people know what to target now. Um,
Yeah.
but I'd rather I don't know. I'd rather I don't think there's a way you can lose here because if you say these are people in each culture who will care about truth, they're not easily paid off. And I think if they change their behavior, like if Hank Green explains epistemology, he says here's what's true and here's why it's true. He always does this. If he stops doing that or if he starts to slide things in, it becomes pretty obvious. He sort of set himself up. It's a vulnerable thing. He set himself up so that if he tries to sell you something, it's very obvious.
Yeah.
So those people who put themselves in a vulnerable position, I think we can make a list. I think it'll be good. And later, when we have power, we can make a list of the bad actors. But that's later.
True. And then we can throw them in camps. And I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. No,
One step,
I was
yeah,
just making a
yeah.
joke, but I feel like in a way, I'm not sure if you're familiar with communism, but I feel like that's kind of the idea that like communists get at in terms of like the way that excuse me, the way that they run their government is by these like memeticians. They don't call themselves that. They're just communist in the Communist Party, right? But like these are the people that engage in dialectics, which is like the way of understanding nuance in the world. Um, right? Nothing is zero or one. It's somewhere in the middle. It's some fuzzy number between. And they are looked at as like the bringers of truth because they're spread out in all these different tendrils of
Mm.
society. It's not like an international memetics organization like you were talking about, but it is like localized national ran memetics officers in a lot of
And
ways. If you,
I I think as long as there's no, I don't know if they have like a like a pope like structure.
they
If
have like
if
Xi
they're
Jinping, or I'm
well,
thinking of China specifically. I'm thinking of China.
if people can challenge it, it's sort of like which I guess goes against the communist thing. But if there's competition on that, then I trust. Then you can trust the system because then like people are like, okay, and you have these priests or you have these memeticists. and they're saying this is what everyone needs to do. But if you're like, okay, okay, here, it's that simple. You're like, wait, this thing that you're saying seems to be harming the group cohesion and the productivity of my area. Now, the
Yeah.
question is, are they doing this intentionally or not? If they're not doing this intentionally, then when you ring the bell or when you file a complaint and say, hey guys, this is a problem, if they change the thing because of your feedback, then they're good. They're aligned.
Yeah.
If they don't change it, they're misaligned. And that could be because they're incompetent, they can't, they don't understand your complaint, or because they're intentionally malicious. And the trick for me is
Or because you're
incompetence.
wrong. There is the chance
Oh,
that the individual is just incorrect
yes.
on like the
Well,
larger scheme.
yes, and this is well, this actually okay. So that last option is actually how like the misaligned can just say they could be misaligned, but they could just say you're wrong and cast doubt. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah,
So,
but so
so
it's like they could be telling the truth and you could be wrong, or you could actually be right
you
and
could
like
actually yeah.
yeah.
So the sort of the trick is like the trick. I mean that's basically it. The trick is that like competent people can discern this, can discern alignment from misalignment. Um, so we go back to like everybody just needs someone they trust who's competent, and that's it.
Yeah.
Because
And
we can't find yeah.
and I think that is the goal of like the Communist Party is to have people everywhere that you can trust. Like you have a Communist Party member like right not literally right next to you, but like there's someone in your region or and maybe at your job, right? And it's like I have a question about XYZ. I can go to this person that I interact with on a frequent basis. I relatively know this person. Like it might be like your principal at
Sure.
high school or like college or I don't remember what those deans. It might be like your dean at university where you see them every once in a while, but like you know who they are. They might not know who you are, but the point that I'm trying to get at is that like I think I agree that it would be good to have people that we can assumed to be trustworthy in ways that I feel like America has kind of broken down. Like I feel like historically people did have trust in the institutions, maybe not certain demographics of people. Like maybe if you were African American, you didn't really trust the government at all ever, right? But like by and large, I would say that America is increasingly distrustful of our government even just in the last like 10, 15, 20 years. Like I'm not even speaking on like the longer term American scales. I'm just saying speaking like and maybe that's just me growing up and like aging into society and it feels less aligned. But anyway, long story short, I think I agree with you. We need more
But
trustworthy people.
yeah, and I mean I didn't know that much about like the that this is already kind of a structure in the like a communist ideology. But I like I mean I do really believe there's some at some level there's a true there's true things that are good and useful, and a lot you'll find them in a lot of different people independently discover them and adopt them, and but then you see how then you're like, oh wait, if that ideology that I hate picked up this thing, it must be bad. And I'm like, okay,
Yeah.
actually we can but the
Oh
people who can
wait,
solve this, yeah.
that's actually one of the reasons internationally or like geopolitically, I feel like so many people are currently advocating for like hate on the LGBTQ community because they see it as pushed by like Western degeneracy,
Mm,
right? So they see it as like I hate America. America likes queer people. I hate queer people.
yeah.
And like I it's just what you were saying of like if my
Yeah.
enemy loves this thing, it's evil. So like yeah,
And it's actually it's honestly like this is like it's not fundamentally a bad heuristic because again it's like if evil people
directionally
you're
useful. It's
right,
directionally
right,
useful.
exactly. Yep. And it like you can bypass it. It's actually not that hard to bypass. You bypass it by again the truth-seeking subgroup in your culture. If they take the thing, reframe it, which I think that's what a lot of Hank Green does. He'll take this thing that's in right wing, but it's true, and he'll own it. He'll like tell a new story about it. He'll change its name,
Yeah.
and I think right now I think he sort of has to do it secretly, but he's trying to sort of show people that that's what he's doing, and it's okay. And it's like, okay, the true thing, you guys are not. He's telling people you're not wrong for thinking this is a bad thing because the bad people do it, but actually it's good. We're gonna
It's
change it for them.
nuanced, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. But it's
Just
important that he's not trying to change people's heuristic because that heuristic is generally good enough.
yeah.
If you don't copy people that you hate, I'm like, okay, that's good. That's actually good. Let's keep it that way, and
It
then
also
trust.
makes me think
Yeah,
of the vaccine response in America. In terms of how Trump, Operation Warp Speed, Trump pushed the vaccine. Democrats and like the populace rapidly accepted the vaccine and like took it and they were like, I love modern medicine and science. But then the Republicans hated how much it was being pushed and like Biden came in, so Biden was like, everybody has to do the vaccine, and then they got pissed off. But then they were like, I hate every single vaccine in the whole planet because I don't trust anything. And the Democrats like modern medicine. I don't even believe in
yeah.
vaccines. And like, there are some good things out of that, right? Like, they're banning food dye that is linked
Hmm.
to like health issues. They are like maybe tightening some standards. They're canceling a lot of standards, but that's not for now. Anyways, the point that I'm saying is like it is kind of a death spiral of like they're
Yep,
pointing their finger and saying my enemy does this thing,
yep.
so I'm going to cancel every good thing I've ever done because I hate them. And it's like, okay, are we really just self-sabotaging? Like, is that really the solution?
I think this is a good, like, this is basically the this research, the game, the big question is like how do we shift the downward spiral? How do we tilt it? I like the word tilt because you imagine, like, I think of it this way, like, imagine this is the world and it's like about to fall and you're like, oh shit, everything's collapsing, and I think it's almost just imagine
Yeah.
this is the upward part. Like, it's almost like there's a root level sort of tilt we can do. Like, it's not going to fix everything, but it's going to change the trajectory for things to start getting better, and that's all we need. So it's like there's an infinite amount of work to do, but the first step is just switch the train tracks, and then we can keep, like, we're right now we're pouring a lot of effort, but it's not going anywhere in the information war. But I think we can get to a point where it shifts, and we're
I
all waiting. Yeah, we're all trying
I
to.
I agree completely. I feel like where the information war is we have like these two major armies that are just like pointing fingers at each other, and it's I don't think either side is going to win. It seems like they've
Right,
devolved into like
right,
childishness, where like
right.
the Democrats don't know how to do anything, and their politicians are like not. It seems like they don't actually want to win. They don't actually want to play the politics game. They want to be celebrities. That's what it feels like. I don't know if it's true. Then the right wing is like they don't even care about like being truthful. They just care about vibes politics. And it's like, okay. There's no winning solution here. So like I almost feel like we need I don't want to say third position because like that's like a Nazi thing, third positionism, but like we need like alternative, and I don't even think I think we just need a plurality of alternatives. It's not like
Yeah.
it's not we need a third position. We need a plurality of alternatives that let people that force these two major parties to like realize that they're not the only players in the game, right? Like right now, they feel so emboldened through the fact that they're just our two party system, right? But like they're not invincible. There are other social structures. There are like combinations of people that could easily say, not easily, but like they could say we don't want to do this anymore. Like both of you are just this is a WWE game and I don't
Hmm.
even like theater. Like this is not where I want to be, right? Like
Yep, yep, yep.
anyway, sorry to ramble. I
No,
was
but I
getting
think
a little
that's it.
passionate.
I feel, but I like the, like, this is the trajectory we're looking for, and I feel like I feel like it keeps trying to sort of, you know, in my head is an image of like breaking water, or like, keeps trying to jump out, and there's a at some point, I don't know, I'm optimistic because I really think it's not. I think there's just a critical mass at which the whole thing flips. Um,
Yeah.
And so even if it's even as the downward spiral is continuing, I'm still sort of looking at like what are the signs that there's enough people. Like there's a world with the good news. Like I think it can get worse, and when it gets worse, it's obvious enough. The problems are obvious enough that it pushes the good people, again, this what I'm calling the truth-seeking group in each subculture, to be recognized and for them to sort of stop being depressed and realize that if anything's going to get better, it's because of them having a bigger voice,
Yeah.
doing something, and them seeing other truth-seeking groups and other subcultures growing. Again, I really think you want that. Yeah, I think you get it. It's the whole thing. But I think this is a good thing to end on. The downward spiral tilting towards an upward
On this
spiral.
note, I have a
Yeah,
question for you. So
yeah,
we're in a downward spiral, right? Things are falling.
yeah.
But the question I have for you is, do you think that we should essentially let it fall flat and just build it like either this is the platform, it's falling off of the platform. Do we build a new platform for them to land on, or
Mm,
do we try to stabilize the existing platform? Does that make
this
sense?
is it makes a lot of sense, and I'll show you. I actually think this is a research question, but it's hard to research openly. But don't tell me if this diagram aligns. Put it under the downward spiral.
Oh, that's a big one.
Well, let me just make it a little more. Okay,
Let me
so
make sure.
I I
Hold on.
think the way I think so you can see how like downward spiral is failure at every junction. So you're make this blue. Yeah, so you're here at the beginning here, so you get failure, okay, and here again, and it's failure. So it's downward spiral. It keeps getting worse and worse.
Yeah.
Now there's two ways from here. You can either tilt it into an upward spiral and then you're back and then you're back, so it's almost as if nothing happened. You're still you're maintaining the original trajectory of what you would have.
Yeah.
Or but we don't know. Like it's possible. Like there's no way for you to go from here back up to there because the pressure is just too much. So actually, your best thing is going to be this kind of timeline.
Yeah. Just to
Um, eh,
stabilize things rather than like push for the everything
right.
to be restored.
And maybe it'll just take like much longer to go back up, or maybe it never will. It'll just be different things. So I don't know. Honestly, I feel like I don't know. I mean, 6 months ago, I felt like there was this huge urgency, and we need to accelerate, and we need to because if it gets worse, it'll yeah, then we've lost the original platform and we need to just build a second platform. And honestly, this is the premise of Asimov's psychohistory, the foundation thing, which is why I was mentioning it before. But he
Yeah.
basically looks at looks at society, does his little math, and is like, oh shit, there's no way. He's like, in their version, in their world, collapse is inevitable. He's like, it's actually collapse has already happened. We're actually in the end of it, and it's only a question of like when are we gonna like start building the second thing, start building the second platform. That's the foundation.
Yeah.
It's foundation for
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
next
Yeah.
empire. So I don't know. You see why like there's irony around like it's a spicy research question because the
Yeah.
answer to it could itself lead to people abandoning the ship, and if the ship isn't if the ship is going down, the captain who's misaligned doesn't want anyone to know. He wants to be the first one to take the lifeboat and move far enough away before anyone realizes that the ship is sinking, which
Yeah.
sucks. And so I don't know if you're in that situation, you have no choice. We're like, okay, I need to know because either the ship is sinking or it's not too late. But either way, we need to know, and in a way that doesn't cause panic to everyone else. Which is why if you can find someone you trust and let them research the question and tell you. Anyway, so the short answer is I don't know, but either way, I think one of us in the trust group should find
Yeah.
out and lead the way, and that's it. This is good. This is good talk. I feel like it's a good whiteboard session. Thanks
Yeah,
a
no,
lot.
I really love this whiteboard feature. I
Right?
definitely want to start using this more often, just in general. Like this is
I
really
think it's
cool.
great to just like drop links and stuff and then like people can even just dump it to the
A-
viewers later.
And I
Yeah.
think this is more on you than the software itself, but I like how you always have like pictures or you've already written about things and you just like link it in. I find that
That's
really
kinda cool.
useful.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Well, this is great. All right. Thanks a lot, Kat. Uh,
Yeah, thank you for
enjoy.
chatting. It was so nice.
Yeah, likewise. Bye.
I'll see you next week. Bye. Okay, y'all. How's it going? I hope you enjoyed chatting with Defender. I know I did. Memetics are so cool, y'all. I'm so excited. I think what I may do, what I may do here is I might try to make a slideshow or like presentation for virtualism, that thing that I've been working on for a while, and present it to a group of people from this like group on stream, and then we can like discuss it, engage with it. I think that'd be fun. Maybe we'll do it next week or the week after. I think next week we might actually want to interview somebody else from the organization. But yeah, yeah, Earl. Sometimes it's good to make people panic in order to cause movement. Yeah, I think I was reading something recently about like how tension and stress. It's like the MSC maximum stress constant or something. But like it was this sociological study that showed how periods of high stress encourage people to develop new factual positions, new like self identities. And I have my own theories for why that would happen, but the paper was essentially saying the same thing, that like causing panic, causing stress, causing tension does cause movement, especially if you have something to supply them with. If you like want people to believe a certain thing, it can be easier to cause an event of like mass panic and then feed them your narrative, right? Like I don't know. I'm not saying these are things that should happen. I'm just saying that these are things that like scientifically, dialectically, they're able to happen because that's how humans work and that's how information works and that's how the stress hormones make them work. But yeah, I hope y'all enjoyed. I'm not really sure what else to talk about right now. I I enjoy talking with these OMI people. I might hop off the stream here shortly, but I think I might go live again later tonight and edit the video. Get some clips out of it. That'd be useful. And yeah. Do y'all have a favorite aspect of that interview? No, I guess it wasn't quite an interview. Do you have a favorite aspect of that conversation that like really just made you think, really made really steepened your entropic load on the inside? Because that is the goal of all of this, right? Like personally, I'm extremely interested in memetics, as you all know. But I do think aligning with what he was saying earlier is that like raising people's epistemology by and large, creating like this like meta level recognition and cognition is extremely dangerous to the powers that be, but useful to the people and like useful to upcoming institutions, useful to like developing plurs. And yeah, so that's why I'm gonna keep doing it. But I hope you all have a great rest of your day. I love you all, and I will see you later.